Hello, this is Priya. I have a doubt.
Go ahead, Priya.
Yeah, how are the test cases generated, and does QA analyst write the test cases?
The QA analyst is responsible for creating the test cases, the test data that is required, and also define the test steps. That's the QA analyst role. But the roles can overlap. A tester can be an analyst, an analyst may have to be a tester as well, depending on the size of your team.
Okay. If in case the QA analyst finds out that there is an error in this, but he or she is writing the test cases, but not doing the testing. So in this case, what will the QA analyst do? Like mention
The
that
QA analyst is responsible for giving testable test cases.
Okay.
So if the test case that he creates has a issue, that's where comes up the gap. So this gap needs to be filled in. Go to your PA, find out the missing constraint that will allow you to complete the test case, or go to requirements, the requirements manager, or to the business owner and tell them that there is a problem here. So then you log a defect, but that's a requirement defect.
Okay.
It's not a functional defect in the application, but it is a defect in the requirements itself. For example, requirement mandates, let me find out a good example. Requirement does not state any, requirement is silent about the number of invalid attempts a user can take for access of the application. But now, you as a senior QA analyst in the team are responsible for writing test cases for user authentication. So you look at positive conditions, you look at negative conditions. In your negative conditions, one condition is, because of your experience you know it, the user should be blocked after 5 invalid attempts. Because if he's not made it in the first 5 attempts, he's trying to hack the system. What is expected then? And your requirement is silent about this, which means there's a gap for this requirement. Business may very well say, oh, it doesn't matter, let them continue. But is that a good user experience? No, it's not. So your experience matters here. So your QA analyst exposure to various data conditions for separate applications where you know after 5 invalid attempts, there should be a need for the user to get a new session and start working on that. That should be.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Priya. I just wanted to know, does the requirement defect need a code change?
Requirement defect does not need a code change because requirement is being written based on which your development is to be done. So if there is a requirement defect, the requirement needs to be updated properly. But it all depends. If the requirement defect is logged before development starts, then the cost of development or incremental changes for development is 0. But if the requirement defect is found after the code is delivered, then of course code changes will be mandated.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
QA analyst give the test data, test cases, and what else?
We will create the test scenarios.
Test scenarios, okay.
In those scenarios, you'll have test cases. These test cases will have test steps, and each step will have data. That's the hierarchy.
Okay. So, right. Now, as you said, because the development and the testing takes place simultaneously. As the developer is writing the developed code, I'm also writing the test cases, right? Now, to answer your question, now he should be involved every when the developer is writing the code at the same time I should be writing my test cases, right? From the DRD, looking at the DRD.
Based on the use cases, we can already keep the test cases ready, right? It's not that for the code to be done.
No, that's the issue.
That's what she's trying to understand and question. Depending on the testing methodology, not the testing methodology, development methodology. If it is waterfall, you have your development complete, only then testing starts. Whereas in Agile, Once the requirements for a sprint are finalized,
Sprint is
mini
bringing
cycle.
the project.
Mini cycle.
Okay.
Right? So this mini cycle in which there are 10 units of development that need to happen, you start developing your first unit of development.
Right.
So for that you define something, your requirements, it's called sprint backlog.
Okay.
So you define your backlog, and based on the needs for the backlog, development and QA will start at the same time.
The same time. Right.
So you may not have a very well-defined UX output, design output may not be available for you.
Yes, it's not always not there,
Right.
because we hardly gave 1 day for the test course to finish. Hardly 1 day is there given for the test course. By the next week, first to go to the UX and that's it. So it's really a very serious problem. So that's an agile.
So now let's understand here, as we were going through the hoops, we identified that the in-step inputs become validation points for us. For example, when we made a choice of flight, that information was carried over and brought into the application. So the application accepts that input and brings it over to the AUT. These are some,
has left the conference.
these are some additional validations that you need to perform in your testing. Now, whether you are doing a client-server based application or you are doing a web-based application, did you find any difference? That's the reason why I'm bringing these two together, for you to understand the methodology. The objects that are used in these two technologies are different, but the approach to test these systems is almost similar. I'm not saying same. Right? Next question that I want you to take down is, what is the difference in testing approach for web architecture based applications and client server applications? I have proven to you there is no difference, but at the same time I'm asking you a question, that what are the differences?
Sir, could you please repeat the question?
I am making note of it.
Pravina is taking notes and she will circulate these notes at the end of the class. The question was, what is the difference in testing approach for client server versus web-based applications?
Web-based application, we have to be more sure.
Thank you.
I know what are the answers and you may be able to give some, but I want you to do that as a homework and come back. So now, in this application, you do follow the same process. You make a booking, you interact with the class and see the change in price. Notice.
Right.
And these are all functional test cases that we need to run. Change in class will impact the price. That will be a test case. Right? So as you change the class, the price of the ticket will change and the amount charged to the order will also change. So now you're getting a flavor of inline calculations,
Right.
calculations that get carried over after the step. Now the next thing. I am in a situation where I have populated all the required data. I am now finalizing the step by making a booking. Watch what happens in the application. There is a confirmation that comes up. I am inserting the order. Be patient. There is a change that happens here. It was empty earlier, and now it shows insert done. Also, up came the order number.
Correct.
So, default, upon user action, and after user action. 3 stages of validation. We need to do that for every step. For every test step that you have 3 stages. Default or before action, upon action, and after action. Once you have data for these 3 stages in a step, you can never go wrong.
Right.
See, the state of the application when I open the application. Let's look at this. This is my before user action. This is upon user action. And the after user action was when I clicked the insert done. So now it is at a stage where it is after user action. Right?
Update and delete order button.
Update and delete are now active because now I can perform only an update or a delete function. I cannot execute an insert on top of this. Right? This is similar to an email account exists and you're trying to build the same email account again. You will get a...
So my question is, so BRD will be at a very high level. So from there you have to interrupt and run the test cases. Is that correct?
BRD is the high-level document from which FRS is created. Functional requirement specifications will come in.
The functional requirement specifications created by the user, not the tester, by the business analyst.
BA or requirements manager. These are the two people who are responsible. It used to be called as business analyst itself, but now with certain refinements, those BAs are now addressed as requirement managers as well.
Okay.
So they manage requirements. And they are the link between business and IT.
Right. Now in this case, the business requirement, from the business team, they would tell me, once the order is being done, you have inserted the order, this is how the screen has to be, the update and the delete order has to be...
They will not give you all the specifications. They will give you the order needs to be created, same order number cannot be submitted. They will tell you that.
That's all.
Then it comes to the functional requirements and the UX team as to how the screen flow will flow.
Right.
That's in functional requirements.
Okay.
So a user has inserted an order now. After this, when he inserted the order, these buttons should become disabled. That's not business to decide.
Okay.
Business will tell an order once accepted should be either updated or deleted. That's it.
Right, I understand that. But once I have the screen, it's easy for me to write the test cases. Right?
I agree.
Right. But most of the time it doesn't happen that way.
I agree on that as well.
Right? It doesn't happen. So now the BRD is just telling me. So as a tester, okay, I'm going for a QA analyst. As a QA analyst or as a tester, whatever. What document I'll be getting is only the BRD.
What you'll be getting.
I will be getting use cases. I'll be getting use cases. No, I'm just answering your question. Okay.
It depends on your project team. You as an analyst will actually work with the FRD, functional requirement document, or the FRS, or the functional requirement specification, and the design document. These will be two documents that you will base your test cases on.
Right. But they are not going to...